I just found out my wife of 10 years cheated on me with her boss, stole $200, $0 from our joint account, and now she's claiming half of our property, including the family home valued at $750, $0. How do I fight back after all her lies and betrayal? Hello, everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, pouring out my heartbreak and rage on some online forum, but here I am. The craziest thing just happened, something I still can't fully process. One minute I was sitting in my living room, thinking everything was fine, and the next, I found out my wife, Lisa, was cheating on me with her boss, Mark. Not only that, she stole $200, $0 from our joint account, and now she's claiming she's entitled to half of everything. Our house, our savings, everything. Honestly, I never saw it coming. We had been married for 10 years. I thought we were solid even if we had our typical ups and downs. Lisa was always a little bitchy, quick to dismiss my feelings, but I figured that was just her personality. She was the kind of woman who could be charming when she wanted to be, but underneath she was manipulative and selfish. Still, I loved her. I thought she loved me too, but all of that shattered in a matter of days. I started noticing little things a few weeks ago. She was more secretive with her phone, always hiding it when I walked into the room. She'd get defensive if I asked who she was texting or calling. She also started working late more often, saying it was important meetings or business dinners, but I had a gut feeling there was more to it. She'd come home smelling like perfume I didn't recognize, and her stories about her day didn't add up. I even caught her lying about small stuff, like where she was or who she was with. That's when I started to get suspicious. Then last weekend, I decided to check her phone when she went to the store. I know, it's invasive, but I couldn't help myself. I found dozens of messages between her and Mark, including explicit texts, pictures, and plans to meet up. My heart sank. It was worse than I imagined. They were having sex, I'm pretty sure of it, and she was lying to my face about everything. I saw the text where she called him my secret, and he called her his queen. It was disgusting. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious all at once. How could she do this to us, to me? But that wasn't even the worst part. Hidden among her messages was a transfer receipt. She had stolen $200, $0 from our joint account. Just like that, she drained our savings, our safety net, without so much as a warning. I couldn't believe it. I felt sick. That money was supposed to be for our future, for the kids' college, for retirement. And she just took it like it was hers to take. I couldn't even process how cold and calculated she had been. She's always been manipulative, but this was next level. I confronted her that same night. I was trembling with rage. I showed her the messages, the transfer receipts, everything I'd uncovered. Her reaction was a mix of shock, anger, and outright denial. She looked at me with those icy eyes and said, "You're overreacting. It's not what it looks like. You're just jealous and insecure. Mark is just a boss, a friend, nothing more. And the money, it's a mistake, a misunderstanding. You're blowing things out of proportion." She tried to brush it off like I was the crazy one, like I was the one losing my mind over nothing. But I saw through her lies. I saw her panic, her attempt to spin the story. I was devastated, honestly. I felt like I'd been hit by a freight train. How could she lie so easily? How could she betray me, our marriage, everything we built? I was angry, yes, but mostly I was hurt. The woman I loved, the woman I married, had been cheating on me for who knows how long and stealing from us. That's when I realized I had to do something. I couldn't just let her walk away with everything. I needed to find a way to fight back, to get justice, not just for the money but for my dignity. The next days were a blur. I started digging into our bank accounts, looking for any other signs of her deception. I hired a lawyer and I began to plan my next move. I knew she was the type to lie her way out of trouble, but I also knew she'd underestimated how far I was willing to go. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about standing up for myself and making sure she paid for what she'd done. I can't lie, deep down, I still love her in some messed up way. But I also see her for who she truly is. A selfish, manipulative woman who'd rather betray her own family than face the consequences. I just hope I can come out of this stronger and wiser. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that trust is fragile and betrayal cuts deep. And I'm not going to let her get away with this. After confronting Lisa and seeing her cold, calculated reaction, I knew I had to act fast. The betrayal wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about protecting myself and making sure she didn't walk all over me. I spent the next couple of days gathering evidence, talking to a lawyer, and trying to piece together exactly how deep this whole mess went. I couldn't believe she'd gone so far, stealing that much money and lying so blatantly. It was like I was living in some bad soap opera, but this was real life, and I was the one getting screwed over. The first thing I did was dig into our bank statements more closely. I found a series of suspicious transactions, multiple withdrawals at casinos, luxury stores, and online gambling sites. It was clear she'd been blowing the money on herself, living it up while I sat there clueless. I also hired a private investigator after I found some weird charges on our credit card that I couldn't explain. Turns out, Lisa was using that money to fund a secret apartment in the city, where she'd been meeting Mark and living her double life. That was the final straw. She wasn't just cheating, she was actively planning her escape. I met with a lawyer who explained my options. She told me I could sue for divorce, especially with the evidence of infidelity and theft, and fight for the property and the remaining savings. She also warned me that Lisa would likely try to claim half of everything, including the house, which was valued at around $750. I knew that if I didn't act quickly, she'd try to muscle her way into claiming what she thought was hers. That's when I decided I'd fight fire with fire. I wasn't going to let her get away with this without a fight. One thing I couldn't understand was her attitude. When I confronted her, she looked me right in the eye and told me I was overreacting, that I was insecure and paranoid. She insisted Mark was just a friend, that I was imagining things. She even said I was the one who had a problem, not her. That's when I realized she was a master manipulator. She'd spun her web so well that she thought she could lie her way out of this mess. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I knew her game. I knew she was trying to play the victim, to turn everything around on me. Meanwhile, she kept trying to gaslight me, claiming I was jealous and that I didn't trust her. She called me paranoid, said I was crazy for even suspecting her. That only fueled my anger. I'd always been reasonable guy, but her lies shattered that. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and more determined than ever to expose her. I started compiling everything, screenshots of texts, bank records, the PI's reports, to prepare for the legal battle ahead. I also had to face the emotional toll. Every time I saw her, I felt this mixture of heartbreak and rage. How could she do this to me? To our family? I had built a life with her, a future, and she'd thrown it all away for some fleeting affair and money. I felt sick, like I'd been punched in the gut. But I knew I couldn't let her see how much she'd hurt me. I had to stay strong for myself and for whatever was left of our marriage. Deep down, part of me still hoped she'd come clean and admit everything, but I knew better. Lisa was a master at lying, and I didn't trust her anymore. In the days that followed, I made plans to get a temporary restraining order. I wanted her out of the house, away from the money, and from any further manipulations. I also started looking into ways to freeze her accounts and prevent her from withdrawing any more funds. The more I uncovered, the more I realized how much she'd been hiding. This wasn't just a simple affair or a moment of weakness. It was a calculated scheme, cheating, stealing, and lying all in one package. I also reached out to some friends, people I trust, and told them what was going on. I needed support, and I knew I couldn't do this alone. Some of them were furious on my behalf, telling me I deserved better, that I should fight for what's right. Others warned me about how tricky Lisa could be, how she'd try to spin the story to her favor. I was prepared for that. I knew she'd try to manipulate the situation, but I had enough evidence to shut her down. Right now, I'm just trying to stay calm and focus on the next steps. I've got my lawyer working on the legal case, and I've started the process of filing for divorce. I also plan to sue her for the stolen money and any additional damages she caused. The house, which is worth around $750, $0, is going to be a tough fight. She's claiming she's entitled to half, but I've got proof of her infidelity and theft. I want her exposed for what she really is, a manipulative, selfish woman who thought she could walk all over me, take everything, and get away with it. Honestly, I don't know what the future holds. Part of me still feels broken, betrayed beyond words. But I also know I can't let her win. I have to stand my ground, fight for what's mine, and rebuild from this mess. It's going to be a long, ugly battle, but I'm determined to come out on top. I just wish I'd seen it coming sooner. I wish I'd noticed the signs and protected myself better. But now, it's all about damage control and making sure she pays for what she's done. The legal process has been a nightmare, honestly. I never imagined I'd have to go through something like this, fighting my own wife in court over money, property, and betrayal. My lawyer got everything moving quickly, filing for divorce, freezing her accounts, and setting up a claim for the stolen money. The house, which I always thought of as our family's safe haven, suddenly feels like she's claiming she's entitled to half of it because we're married, but I've got the proof of her infidelity and theft, so I'm confident I can fight her on that. Lisa, of course, is playing the victim. She's throwing around words like unfair, greedy, and vindictive, trying to paint herself as the wronged wife. She's even hired her own lawyer who's trying to spin her story, saying she's just a woman who was misunderstood, that the money was a gift, and that her affair with Mark was just a fleeting mistake. I can't believe she's still trying to lie her way out of this. I've seen her texts, her bank transfers, her secret apartment. There's no denying what she's done. Still, she's good at the manipulation game, and I know she's going to try every trick in the book to get what she wants. One thing that really pissed me off was her attempt to turn her affair into some kind of emotional support thing. She told her lawyer that Mark was just a friend who was helping her through a tough time at work, that she never meant for it to go this far. Yeah, right. She's trying to rewrite history to make herself look like the victim, but I have the text where she's calling Mark her, saying she's never felt this alive and even planning to leave me for him. That's not the words of someone who's just helping a friend. Meanwhile, I've been trying to keep my head above water. The stress is unbelievable. Every time I see her in court, I get this surge of anger and sadness. How could she do this to me, to our family? I've been going over everything in my mind, trying to make sense of how she managed to pull this off for so long behind my back. I feel betrayed, humiliated, and furious. I trusted her, and she turned around and used me for her own gain. That's what hurts the most. I gave her everything, my love, my time, my efforts, and she repaid me with lies, cheating, and theft. I also discovered that she'd been secretly transferring money to her sister, who's been helping her hide some of the cash. I found that out when I hired a PI to follow her bank accounts. It's like she was building a safety net just in case she got caught. I can't believe how cold and calculated she's been. She's been planning her escape for months, maybe longer. I feel like I've been living in some nightmare and I can't wake up. I've started to question everything about our marriage. Were all those years just a lie? Did she ever really love me? Or was I just a paycheck to her? It's hard to trust anyone anymore. I keep reminding myself that I did everything I could to save what was left, but it feels like she's already won. She's managed to turn our entire life upside down, and I'm just trying to hold on. One of the worst parts is seeing her in court, playing the victim. She's crying, claiming she's the one who's been wrong, that I'm trying to ruin her. It's sick. She's trying to manipulate the judge, make herself look innocent while secretly planning her next move. I see right through her. I have all the evidence, her texts, her bank records, the PI's reports, and I know I can prove her guilt. But that doesn't make it any easier. Knowing she's out there, lying and scheming, makes me feel sick to my stomach. I've also started to question whether I should fight for the house or just cut my losses. The property is valued at around $750, $0, and she's claiming she deserves half. I know I can contest that, especially with the proof of her infidelity and theft. But honestly, I just want this over. I want to move on, even if it means losing the house. I've realized that material things don't matter as much as having my dignity intact. Still, the thought of losing everything we built, our home, our savings, is heartbreaking. I've been leaning on some friends and family for support. They tell me to stay strong, to fight for what's right, and to not let her manipulate me. One of my buddies even suggested I record everything, her lies, her manipulations, her attempts to spin the story, and use it as evidence. I'm considering that seriously. I want to make sure she doesn't get away with any more tricks. I know she's a master at twisting the truth, and I need to be prepared for whatever she throws my way. Right now, I'm just trying to keep my emotions in check. The anger is there, but I know I need a clear head. I'm planning to push for a quick divorce, get the legal proceedings moving, and fight her claims tooth and nail. I want her out of my life, out of my house, and out of my wallet. It's not just about money. It's about standing up for myself after everything she's put me through. I never thought I'd be in this position, but I guess I learned the hard way that trust can be shattered in an instant. Now, I'm just trying to pick up the pieces and move forward. The legal battle has intensified, and I can't help but feel like I'm fighting a war I didn't sign up for. Every day, I wake up with a pounding headache, knowing that Lisa is out there, trying to spin her lies and manipulate the system to her advantage. She's hired a slick lawyer who keeps trying to argue that she's entitled to half of everything because of the marriage, despite all the evidence of her infidelity and theft. It's infuriating. How can she sit there and pretend she's the victim when she's the one who betrayed me, stole from us, and lied for months? The court hearings are brutal. Lisa's lawyer keeps painting her as a wronged woman, claiming she was misled and pressured into the affair. They argue that she's innocent, that the money was a gift, and that her relationship with Mark was just a mistake. I can't believe I'm hearing this from someone who's supposed to be representing her. I've got the proof, screenshots, bank transfers, the Pies reports, and I know the truth. But I also know how slick Lisa is. She's a master at spinning stories, and I've seen her manipulate people before. I have to be careful. Meanwhile, Lisa is doing her best to keep up appearances. She's crying in court, claiming she's the victim of my controlling behavior and accusing me of trying to ruin her reputation. She even had the nerve to say that I was abusive, something I would never do. But I know she's just trying to distract from the real issues. I've kept my cool, but inside I'm seething. Every time she lies, I want to scream. I want to shout that she's a liar and a thief, but I have to stay composed. I can't let her see how much she's gotten to me. I've been doing a lot of thinking about what I want and what's fair. Honestly, I just want this nightmare to end. I want her out of my life, out of the house, and away from my money. I'm ready to fight for the house, even if it means going to war in court. I've got a good shot at proving she's not entitled to half, especially since I can show she was cheating and stealing. I've also been working with my lawyer to prepare a detailed account of her theft, which I believe will strengthen my case. The hardest part is feeling like I have no control anymore. She's trying to manipulate the system, and I know she's going to do everything possible to get what she wants. I've heard rumors she's planning to accuse me of something, maybe even try to get a restraining order against me to hold me back. That's typical Lisa. She's always been a master of playing the victim. But I won't let her win. I've got the evidence, and I'm ready to fight her every step of the way. In the meantime, I've been leaning on my closest friends and family. They've been a huge help, reminding me that I deserve better and that I shouldn't let her destroy me. One of my buddies suggested I start recording our interactions, just in case she tries to lie or manipulate me again. I'm seriously considering it. I want to make sure I have proof of her lies and her manipulations, especially if she tries to spin things in court. I don't trust her one bit, and I don't want to be caught off guard. Sometimes I catch myself thinking about what life will look like after this. Will I be able to rebuild? Will I ever trust again? Part of me feels broken, like I've lost a huge chunk of my heart, but I know I can't dwell on that. I have to focus on winning this fight for myself and for what's right. Honestly, I don't care about the money as much as I care about justice, about making sure she's held accountable for her actions. I've also started to consider what I'll do if I lose the house or the money. Will I be able to start over? Will I be able to trust someone again? It's a scary thought, but I remind myself that I've been through worse and come out stronger. I just want this chapter to be over. I want to put all of this behind me, rebuild my life, and start fresh. But I know that won't happen overnight. It's going to take time, patience, and a lot of legal work. Still, I'm determined. I refuse to let her get away with everything she's done. Every day I remind myself that I need to stay strong, keep my head clear, and fight for what's rightfully mine. I can't let her manipulate me anymore. I've learned the hard way that trust is fragile and betrayal cuts deep. But I also realize that I'm stronger than I thought. I've got a good lawyer, solid evidence, and a support system. I'm ready to face whatever she throws at me. I just hope it's enough to finally put an end to her lies and get some justice. The court date finally arrived, and I felt like I was walking into a battlefield. My stomach was in knots, but I knew I had to stay composed. Lisa was there, looking her usual bitchy self, smirking, trying to act innocent while her lawyer whispered in her ear. She was doing her best to spin her web of lies, claiming she was the victim, that I was controlling and jealous, and that she deserved half the house because we were married. I couldn't believe the audacity. All I had was my evidence, and I was ready to lay it all out. The judge listened patiently as Lisa's lawyer argued her case, trying to paint her as an innocent victim of my supposed abuse and possessiveness. Meanwhile, I sat there, feeling sick but determined. I presented my evidence, screenshots of her texts with Mark, proof of the bank transfers, the Pies report showing her secret apartment, and testimonies from friends who saw her sneaking around. I made it clear that her affair and theft were the reason I was filing for divorce and fighting for the property. Lisa's reaction was priceless. She looked cornered when I presented the proof, her face pale but trying to keep her composure. She kept insisting that I was twisting the facts, that Mark was just a friend, that she never stole a dime, but I knew better. I had everything on my side. When I finished, the judge asked her lawyer if she had anything to add. Lisa's lawyer tried to argue that she was entitled to a fair division because of the marriage, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. I could tell the judge was starting to see through her lies. The most intense moment was when I was called to testify. I told the court everything, how I'd found the messages, the transfers, the apartment, everything. I explained how betrayed I felt, how Lisa had lied to my face for months, and how she'd stolen from us. I kept my voice steady, knowing that this was my chance to finally make her accountable. When I finished, Lisa's lawyer tried to attack my credibility, but I had prepared for this. I calmly responded, presenting more evidence, showing her manipulations and lies. The judge asked Lisa some tough questions about her relationship with Mark, her financial dealings, and her claims to the house. She was trying to maintain her composure, but I could see her nervousness. She knew she was losing ground. The courtroom was tense, everyone waiting for the judge's decision. I felt a strange mix of relief and anxiety, relief that I had fought for the truth, and anxiety about what the outcome would be. After hours of arguments and testimonies, the judge finally made her ruling. She ordered Lisa to return the stolen $200, $0, and awarded me full custody of the house, ruling that her affair and theft were grounds for denying her half of the property. She also ordered Lisa to pay damages for the theft and her manipulations. Lisa was furious, yelling that she was being unfairly treated, but the judge's decision was clear. Justice was beginning to be served. Walking out of that courtroom, I felt exhausted but victorious. It wasn't just about the money or the house anymore. It was about finally putting an end to her lies and manipulation. I knew she'd try to appeal or fight back, but I also knew I had the upper hand now. I felt a strange sense of relief, knowing I stood my ground and fought for what was right. I was finally starting to breathe again. The aftermath wasn't easy, though. Lisa didn't go quietly. She continued to try and manipulate the situation, making false accusations and trying to turn people against me. I had to stay vigilant, keep my evidence ready, and not let her drag me down. Still, I felt stronger. I had exposed her for what she truly was, an unfaithful, selfish woman who'd betrayed her vows and stolen our future. And I realized that ultimately I was better off without her. Now I'm working on rebuilding my life. I've moved out of the house, cut ties with her completely, and started focusing on myself. The road ahead is long, but I'm determined to heal and move on. I've learned that trust is fragile and betrayal cuts deep, but I've also learned that I'm capable of fighting for myself and what's right. The pain will fade, and someday I hope to find happiness again. I just wish I'd seen the signs earlier, that I'd trusted my instincts more. But what matters now is that I'm finally free from her lies and deception, and that feels like a small victory in itself. In the weeks that followed the court's final ruling, I felt like I'd been released from a prison I didn't even realize I was trapped in. The weight of her betrayal still lingered, but at least now I had clarity. The house was mine again, the stolen money was being returned, and I finally had some peace of mind. I spent days clearing out her belongings, which felt strangely cathartic, each item a reminder of how much she'd hurt me, yet also a step toward reclaiming my life. One of the toughest parts was facing the aftermath with her. She refused to accept defeat easily. Lisa tried to contact me multiple times, claiming she was sorry and wanted to make things right, but I saw through her. Sorry doesn't erase months of lies, theft, and betrayal. Sorry doesn't fix the fact that she cheated on me with her boss, stole our family's savings, and tried to manipulate her way out of the consequences. I wasn't falling for her crocodile tears anymore. I made the decision to cut all ties. I blocked her on my phone, social media, and pretty much everywhere. I needed to rebuild my life without her interference. It was painful, no doubt about it, but I knew it was necessary for my sanity. I also started therapy, trying to process everything I'd been through. The betrayal had shattered my trust, and I knew I'd need time and help to heal. But I was determined to move forward, to find a way to trust again someday. Looking back, I realize how much I've learned from this nightmare. I learned that betrayal can come from the people you trust the most, and that sometimes the person you love the most can also be the one who hurts you the deepest. I learned that money, power, and manipulation can ruin lives if you're not careful. And I learned that standing up for yourself, even when it's hard, is the only way to truly reclaim your dignity. One thing I want to say to anyone reading this who might be in a similar situation: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the red flags, no matter how much you love someone. If something feels wrong, investigate. And if you find proof of betrayal or theft, don't hesitate to fight for your rights, because no one else will do it for you. I wish I'd taken action sooner, but I'm glad I did eventually. It's better to confront the truth than to live in denial. Now I focus on rebuilding my life, financially, emotionally, and mentally. I've started fresh, with new goals and new hopes. I'm learning to trust again, but more carefully this time. I've come to accept that some betrayals can't be forgiven, and that's okay. Not everyone deserves your trust, and that's a lesson I'll carry with me forever. Most importantly, I've realized that I'm stronger than I ever thought I was. Betrayal can crush you, but it can also teach you resilience. I'm grateful I found the strength to stand up, fight back, and get justice. I'm finally free from her lies, and that freedom is worth more than any house or stolen money. I hope my story serves as a warning and a reminder. Don't stay silent, don't accept unfair treatment, and always look out for yourself. Because at the end of the day, the only person who truly has your back is you.